Hello, friends, and welcome back to the NACL qualifiers for the summer. Super happy to be here as we dive into a pretty topsy-turvy Group D. We got one best of three ahead of us, and it's going to be a banger. But first, got to introduce ourselves. My name is Narco. I'm going to be your play-by-play for this afternoon. I'm joined by the lovely Summer on color. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. We do have a pretty short day today, unfortunately, but it is still a very important one. Our one and only best of three today will qualify one of our teams straight to the quarterfinals next weekend. I cannot wait to see which one it actually is because, yeah, as you said, it's been a little bit topsy-turvy over here in Group D. There's been some upsets and things that have really shaken up a lot of predictions.
For sure. We're going to be diving into Apex Mission Impossible versus Lit Esports. But first, let's talk a little bit about the format and how we got to this position, I think.
We had our Swiss round, of course. This was a couple of weekends ago. If you were a team that wanted to play in this tournament, you could have. You could have signed up. We did have it open to all registrants. And then after that, we had the committee select the teams and in their order as well from the 32, which brought them all the way into the Swiss rounds, where we had all 32 teams play 5 rounds of Swiss best of ones. If you win 3, you're in. If you lose 3, you are out. And from there, we get to the point where we're at right now, which is the Swiss group stage, or not Swiss, just the regular group stage, GSL. And this is an example of how those groups have gone. And yeah, we're in Group D. Lit Esports and Apex Mission Impossible are in the top part. Cold Hearted, unfortunately, were eliminated from the group, so they'd fall to 4th place. That automatically qualifies CCG for the next match. So now you're caught up on Group D. We can take a look at what's happening in the future, if you would like. We do have the playoff bracket, I believe. Some of the teams are already in there, actually. I believe Mirage Alliance was the team that qualified from the other stream. Of course, me and Yarko were kicking it over on Rally Cry 2. But yeah, Mirage Alliance made it all the way there. And so did Team Coachify. So congratulations to both of them. They are on this stage already, and we will be sending 2 more teams to this stage today.
Yeah. For those of you looking at this bracket right now, you can see that we're sending the first seed and second seed from each of these groups. So you're allowed to lose one best of 3, but then you got to make that loser's bracket run, make it back to finals, and see who from there is going to be decided to move on. So we have our insta-locks, the people that go 2-0 to start us off, Coachify and Mirage Lions, like Summer was talking about. But now we're really looking to see who's going to do the same, make history today for Group D and Group C if you're looking at the other stream.
Always 2 streams, at least here in North American League of Legends. So definitely tune into all of those. Today, it probably will only be 2 streams for the whole day because we'll have this one, which is only one best of 3, and then that'll be over probably by the time the LCS Challengers League starts back up with their playoffs run, which is going on. I had a lot of fun watching that yesterday, by the way. I don't know if you got to catch those games, but the Wildcard FlyQuest series was really, really, really good. Highly recommend going back and watching that. Also, Team Liquid is already out of the playoffs, even though they had like such a dominating run throughout the regular season. So that was a bit shocking. First, they had that roster shakeup, but yeah, that was a really interesting thing to watch. Armeo beating his old team too. So yeah, check out NACL playoffs. Things are very fun over there.
Yeah, just like here with the NACL qualifier predictions, my bracket is in shambles over there in the NACL proper. I didn't think Evil Geniuses was going to be this good. I really hoped they weren't going to be this good because I put them as, I think, one of the bottom feeders in my power rankings to start us off on the season. So things certainly have changed up and things have certainly been confusing. But yeah, it's a wild time in both of the Tier 2 and Tier 3 divisions here in NA. And I'd love to see just how much action there is. And we got plenty of action ahead of us today, so we should introduce our teams: Lit Esports and Apex Mission Impossible.
So, Lit Esports, this is almost the exact same team that you knew from the top 4 a couple of weeks ago. By a couple, I mean, I think 4 at this point, where Plux is now stepping in instead of Chae. Other than that, everyone is still here and ready to play for Lit Esports. Of course, they did drop 0-2 to Cold Hearted last weekend, and I think they have a lot of eyes on them this weekend to really prove their worth that even though they did lose that series, they are up in the upper bracket. and they need to actually prove themselves that they can make it to that playoffs in a now much easier group stage for them over here in Group D. So I'm expecting that they can, because Lit Esports now, with an extra week ready to be played with their support player that they've subbed in, I think that's going to do them a lot of good, and I'm hoping to see them bounce back. I mean, this is very similar to what we saw with Team Ambition yesterday, funny enough.
Yeah, almost down to the letter. Obviously, it's going to be a support substitution instead of a top lane substitution, as we were seeing with Team Ambition. But very similarly to them, they kind of got upset, and now there's a few questions regarding how they're going to flow together as a team and how much of a statement they can make here. Because if they weren't given the saving grace because of the removal of Cold Hearted from the bracket, things would definitely be concerning, Summer, because they would be fighting for their lives this time around. Though they have been given a reprieve, and the hope is that they can make the most of it versus Apex Mission Impossible, the team they're facing off against today.
An Apex Mission Impossible. Looks like they are still running with Hyph in the jungle. Very exciting stuff. Decoy, Arian Delbaz, and Pocus alongside him. This is a pretty exciting team, I gotta say. They completely trounced CCG with new addition Hyper in the jungle, and that, I think, was very unexpected for a lot of people. This team really surprised. This is another one of those ones where this is a good example of the crazy seeding upsets that happened all throughout last weekend. Apex Mission Impossible, of course, 12th seed overall, took down 5 seed in CCG. A lot of that seeding for CCG was hinged upon the fact that Hyper was such a good ringer for them, but that didn't end up being the case. Apex Mission Impossible shut him down, even on his signature Lee Sin, which I thought was very interesting. And they come in today with pretty easy, a pretty easy first round, or well, I don't know if easy is the right word, but they made it look easy, which is why I'm so confused, because this team definitely was not supposed to make that look so easy, but I'm very excited for them now.
Yeah, I'm very excited that Apex Mission Impossible has gotten to the point at which they're at. I think that this is going to be a banger of a match. And honestly, if I'm CCG Esports, I feel happy that I was able to dodge that matchup versus Cold Hearted. But simultaneously, I got to say, it's going to be really rough trying to push through losers finals versus either of these teams, as both of them, I think, are coming through with obviously very different arcs to them. Lit Esports need to build back up the expectations that we have for them. Apex Mission Impossible continue to try to do the impossible, defy all of our expectations.
Yeah, and real briefly to explain a little bit extra of that bracket, if you do want to see more of the details on why Cold Hearted is 4th place, you can go check out Team Rally Cry on Twitter. They did put out a little statement about that. So we're not going to get too into it right now, because we're not going to be watching that team today. But yeah, go ahead and check that out. We are here for the draft. One of these two teams today in this best of 3 is going to make it all the way to the quarterfinals as first seed. And for a team like Lit Esports, this actually does matter quite a lot, because they are in contention for the top 4 for promotion tournament. And if you win the group, you get an additional 10 points. And those can matter quite a lot moving forward as far as the points are broken down and everything. It can be a very tight race, as shown by last split, where Native just barely missed out on the qualifications. So yeah, really important game. Of course, it's lower stakes than what we saw from Team Ambition, where they were in the lower bracket. These teams do have a second chance to qualify for playoffs. Still, though, you really want those additional 10 points, and they want to be first seed in the playoffs, too.
Yeah, and you also just want that little bit of rest time that you get by locking in now for those quarterfinals. You want the maximum amount of time, especially for a team with the sub, to be able to gel together, mesh together. But they will be tested here and now as we move into the picks. We got the initial grab of the Tristana that we've seen many a time so far in the group stage. It's so powerful on 13-13 there in that mid lane role with some flexibility down bot. And while Apex Mission Impossible was hovering a few things, they're eventually going to go for a lock of not only a Jace, but also a Rel.
The Rel flex pick is here for AMI, and they've also got a bit of a flex pick with Jace as well. This could go to either of those solo lane roles. Much less flexible over here on Lit, as they do lock in their jungle Maokai and probably their bot lane of Kaisa, with the Tristana locked in, as you said, one of our stronger mid lane champions in the entire meta right now. I would wager to say the strongest. And, you know, it is one of those ones that does provide physical damage in that role, which is a bit hard to come by if you don't have Tristana or Jace. Very valuable pick.
A little bit surprised that we see Lit tip their hands so quickly here in the draft phase by showing that this will in fact be a Tristana mid, but perhaps the knowledge of Tristana mid at this point is just permeating everything, and they realize, hey, this is not actually that much of a way in which we could dupe Apex Mission Impossible. We should just get the best AD carry possible. And overall, the spot lane is looking pretty hyped so far. Interested to see what the support lock-in is going to be for Lit, but right now we gotta work through these bans first. A Renekton denial by Apex Mission Impossible to start us off.
Seems like they're looking much more at the top lane for now on the AMI side of things. The Renekton gone, as you said. I would expect things like the Darius to be considered, as they are against Dragoon, one of our other premier Darius players. If you missed it yesterday, we had Darius player number 1. Well, I guess the numbers don't really matter, but one of our Darius players over there, Sunlight. And that is a ban consideration, and one that actually will come to light. Apex Mission Impossible don't want to play against the Comfort.
Yeah, we see the Gwen ban here from Lit Esports. Really happy to see this. I think that Gwen was one of those pivotal players in the Vision best of 3 that we saw yesterday. It's such a powerful champion, particularly if Apex Mission Impossible are angling to go for something like a tank topside. Lit Esports would snap that up, but it looks like here the plan is actually that Lit Esports are going to be the ones grabbing themselves some kind of tank, some kind of frontliner, and already with the Maokai, you don't want that push pruned, as it were. Now, we do have a lock-in of the Nautilus to start us off during the second pick phase. Apex Mission Impossible going to be holding up a counter pick with a possible flex into either mid or top because of that Jace early.
Yeah, Rel going into the jungle now too. So AMI, they've got the double support tank front line now stacked up and ready to go alongside their very long range back line. Depending on what build, of course, we see out of Baz, they will have some troubles landing their poke, perhaps, now that the Unbreakable Wall has been locked in for Plux, another tank support front line in this game. It seems like those are going to be duking it out in the front parts of this game quite a lot today. So we still need a top laner for Dragoon here. He's locking it in blind, probably.
Yeah, flipping through a lot of different options, a lot of options we have seen before, though. Ultimately decides to go for the Cassante tank assassin hybrid, one of the few in the game, I guess you could say. Now, the consideration for Apex Mission Impossible is how much more of a frontline you want as well, because we already have that Nautilus and Rel, like you alluded to, some of this double kind of supportive tank build, and that gives you the opportunity, I guess, to just grab a Garen. I was not expecting to see back-to-back days of Garen, but apparently the strangest age is upon us all.
Every team plays Garen. In all of the series so far that we've gotten this weekend on this stream, Garen has had presence in the bans and the picks as well. It's just everyone wants to pick Garen. I've been saying this for a bit, but the Garen pick is so like simple in how strong it is that you can just kind of slot it into a lot of different teams. I will say, this specific team... Oh, okay, well, actually, this changes things. I was going to say it lacks magic damage. You actually can build something like a Demonic Embrace on Nautilus jungle, as that is what Hyph will actually be playing.
Yeah, that's definitely an angle they could go for. I also think that you can go magic damage on the Varus as well. I think that they needed something else to shore it up, so I'm happy to see the swap over to the Nautilus jungle, as it's also a pretty novel thing. That being said, more Rungle footage is always going to be something that I welcome, as I had my mind blown yesterday by its clear pathways and whatnot. But alas, Apex Mission Impossible will deny us that opportunity, at least to start us off. That being said, we do have the Garen taking back to the Rift, and honestly, this kind of feels like a champion that everybody wants to play in the top lane, because it feels like the person piloting it is having so much fun. You become this huge pest zooming across the map, knocking down towers and running away before anybody could do something about it, and you're laughing all the way.
Yeah, he's basically a jungle Udyr, except instead of Smite working on camps, it works on champions, and it still deals the same amount of damage. So yeah, it's a pretty fun champion. You just run million miles an hour, you get the double zeal, you get the hull breaker, and nobody can catch up to you. It's a great time. So yeah, happy to see that our top laners and some of our mid laners too are having fun on the Garen pick. It's less fun for the opponents, I imagine. I'm sure that Dragoon is like, oh man, another Garen player. I'm just gonna play Cassante. I'm just gonna try my best, be a tank. But yeah, we'll see how this actually plays out. Lit Esports, of course, do have the expectations on them, the eyes on them after losing to Cold Hearted Really expecting them to bounce back from that, find their way back to top 4 form, and, you know, prove the doubters wrong. I'm sure they have that chip on their shoulder too.
Yeah, I really do think that it's a matter of Lit Esports getting an ego game under them to start us off on this series, because otherwise we get into that real nail biter territory that Team Ambition found themselves in, where they dropped their first game yesterday, and we all know how that makes Summer feel. So let's be conservative here. Let's be kind to our casters, and let's not get ourselves all stressed out because Lit drops a game. That being said, I do want to see Apex Mission Impossible also make a statement. If they walk away with a dub, I mean, I'm perfectly happy to say that they're locking in for the quarterfinals. I think that they have already shocked a lot of people, and I know that I am awed by what they've done so far. Hope to see a little bit of that magic here today.
Yeah, I would love to see that too. I've been a Hype fan for a while, so happy to see him step in and kind of lead the team, as it were. Apex Mission Impossible is also just fun name. You know, they know that they're the underdogs. They know that is bit of an impossible mission to actually make it all the way through and win this qualifier, which is what it would take for them to actually make it to the promotion tournament, which is, of course, a lot of these teams' end goal by the summer. And I'm here for it. You know, they've got these fun champions. They've got the double support, the Nautilus jungle. We're seeing the AP Varus probably from Baz, and they've already taken down Seed 5. Why not Seed 4?
Yeah, just continue to climb your way up the ladder. All right. Well, it looks like we're about to hop into the game. We got about 30 seconds ahead of us, guys, and therefore, I think before we actually launch into the Rift itself, it's probably best that we thank one of our sponsors. The NACL Qualifiers are brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car-sharing marketplace, where you can book any car you want for just about any occasion. Forget boring rental cars at Turo.com.
Thanks, Turo. Neum Neum. And speaking of Neum Neum, we are Neum Neuming onto the Rift. We're here. It's game 1. Lit Esports, Apex Mission Impossible, best of 3. Whoever wins this one goes to the quarterfinals and does not have to play next Saturday in the do or die match. And Lit Esports has already dropped a series, Apex Mission Impossible, keeping their perfect record going so far in the group stage. And look at this, Nyarko. Plux knows that Braum has no AP ratios. Congratulations.
Passing the test that unfortunately we did not see succeeded on last best of 3. You know, Braum going for the steel shoulder guards, knowing that they're going to be pummeling people far more than they're going to be ulting people. So I don't know if that's going to make a whole lot of a difference, but it is nice to see that people are at least watching the broadcast, or at the very least reading abilities.
I hope that they're doing the second one. That would be good. These guys are pro players, semi-pro players, you know, so we'll see how much reading they get done on the champion abilities here in this first game. Got a ward on the Raptors, making sure that if Kisno does start on that camp, will be spotted. Looks like it's actually going to be a wolf start for the Maokai. Bit of an unorthodox here, but still one that is same concept as the Raptor start. The AoE camp, your Bramble Smash does a lot of damage to those, and you can get level 2 real quick.
Yeah, we've been seeing that dynamic actually quite a bit amongst these qualifier teams. A lot of solo starts on camps as well, so maybe slowing down the clear just a little bit, but at least getting presence in the clear lane as fast as possible. Now, Hype on this Nautilus is going to be moving up towards those scrubs, probably angling for a full clear, at the very least, full topside clear, to be able to get yourself out onto the map early, hit one of those big hooks, and from there, with your stats, hopefully pound people down. Now, what's a lot of presence here on the Braum, actually just going to slam their Q into focus, and now, because that's the case, it's full wave control over to Blue Squad, surprisingly enough.
It's not super often you see a rel struggle at level 1 like this, but it seems like the auto attack trades have gone in favor of Lit Esports, which is a good sign moving forward. Because as I said, this is a very new support that Lit Esports is playing with. They were rocking with Chaye for the entire first qualifier and even in the Swiss. So this is now basically the whole first week that they've had with this player. Ooh, messages. Nice movement.
Yeah, it's not often that you see a dredge line go that wide. Hitbox is pretty brutal to deal with right there. Messages knew their limits, did a little wiggle, and is perfectly safe, preserving their flash this early into the game.
Well, Hive, you know, at least you have Hex Flash. You can charge it up and try it again sometime. But as of right now, it's just a summoner spell swap in favor of Lit Esports. And yeah, messages. He doesn't even take any damage on that one too, so he can just go right back to farming. He doesn't even have to use his potion.
Meanwhile, on the other side, Ariandel is actually going to teleport back into this lane. They need to control this wave. Tristana, so good, especially post-static shift, just nuking towers, nuking waves, and getting so much presence on the map. So stopping the bleed early, making sure that no damage befalls your tower, I think will at least keep Apex in a little bit more of a comfortable spot. But we're going to have to continue to keep an eye on that lane for sure. Message is clearly playing hot right now.
Kisno has completed his full clear, is thinking about stepping into this river for the bot grab, but it is spotted out. Looks like it is instead just going to be a full recall. Seeing the state of this bottom lane, I don't blame him. There are way, way more red minions than there are blue, so Baz and Focus clearly have the wave control if they want to push this in and punish the Maokai, not to mention the vision that they've got in the river.
And when you think about large waves and how Rel functions, it's so scary to fight and even just go for trades because Rel's able to keep you locked up near minion aggro for so long. This is a Nautilus lane gank angle, it looks like right now. Ooh, I wonder if they could actually spot the little jungle pet who flashed onto vision for just a second on the observer.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure. I wonder. Sometimes spectator client's a little weird, so it's unreliable to say the least. But, you know, maybe that's just a big jungle nerf for this season. Here's that Hex Flash I was talking about.
Yep, going for it once again. Messages, I think, still has rocket jump up, so there's really not much for Hive to do, especially with Kisno covering the Tristana. Things are looking pretty good for Lit in regards to the rotations. Very, very comfortable position across the map. That being said, both teams pretty even and not a whole lot of resources burnt outside of that flash from Hive on Apex's side.
Seems like Lit is okay taking this one slow. This is what they did in the first qualifier as well. Just completely fine. Scaling up, playing a more, you know... Oh, wait. Okay, well, that wasn't the slowest thing, I guess. It looks like Flux was trying to stop Focus from holding the wave underneath that turret. If that was actually a kill, that would have been pretty disastrous for Apex Mission Impossible, but the fact that Focus lives is actually really good for them. Now they don't have to worry about the Ignite, and they even did hold the wave in the end.
Yeah, it was a valiant effort by Plux, but at the end of the day, you are jamming Braum, and as someone who's also played a lot of Braum top, I know that you just don't exert kill pressure alone.
I'm sorry, what?
Braum top.
Why?
I don't know. I was really into like support top laners after like the Smite Janna top meta. And I just continue to try to figure out what could work up there. And the answer is mostly nothing, but I continue to persist in that realm.
I mean, you could play, if you want to do combat Braum things, you can just play the new 2v2 arena mode. That'd be fun, yeah?
Oh, yeah, I actually haven't tried that out just yet.
I bet Braum's good in that mode. You gotta give that some reps, I think.
Yeah,
I'll try it out with you sometime. I'll play like a Lucian or something. I feel like that pair well, you know.
Yeah, that sounds like a
Or maybe I'll take a page out of Sajid's book. We'll go Kaisa Braum. It'll be fun.
Yep, Sajid over here doing a good job of just keeping this lane even versus a champion with a whole lot of poke. Baz not really exceeding them in terms of CS all that much, and therefore I think we're really looking at team fights to be the breaking point for either of these teams. Across the map, it doesn't really look like there's much in the way of solo kills happening, although this is a gank in the mid lane. Bramble smash down onto Ariandel, who now has to try to just walk straight through the Maokai. Messages, rocket jumps forward, but it's no dice with that flash. Chase does get out.
Very important flash out of Ariandel. You do not want to get slowed up by the rocket jump. That would have been his death. So, flash used is to pick up the minion wave and probably recall. He has no mana at all. So, if a fight were to break out, he would not be useful whatsoever. Seems like they're not taking that into account, though, with everyone roaming up to the mid lane. The messages again, popping that little pig emote.
I actually have no clue what it says or what it's supposed to represent, but good on messages for that archaic knowledge. Perhaps it's the case that if nobody knows how to read Chinese, it just becomes this thing that just sits in the back of people's minds, distracted trying to figure out what the emote means. What are they trying to say?
Or maybe he's just calling them little piggies. Oink, oink.
You know,
that could be it.
I really should have thought about that.
This could be a big engage here.
Yeah, plus venturing forward, applying the passive to both members. There's the stun, immediate cleanse out of Baz to try to get the safety. Focus is going to use their crash down in order to buy time for Hype to get here. Depth charge is going to be used. That is Braum gone, and I think Syed is soon to follow. Sad. Lit did so well setting up for that play, and at the end of it all, it's actually just going to be a beautiful turnaround, and now a 2-0 score for Apex.
I didn't actually see what happened to Sajid's ultimate there, but he did actually use it alongside the cleanse. Though the most disastrous thing that could possibly happen is if you use it and then immediately get stunned up by Rel, because that eats your ultimate shield. I feel like that might have actually happened with how little the shielding seemed to matter there, but regardless, it is 2 kills picked up by Apex Mission Impossible. The bot lane of Lit Esports has fallen, and probably the Drake alongside it, though it seems like Kisno, not waste any time, did pick up the Rift Herald for their efforts.
Well, entering into the 10-minute mark, I gotta say, Apex Mission Impossible, with good rotations and just some smart calls, were able to exploit what I think was a little bit of an over-eager play by Lit. Because the Dragon was up, you gotta be a little bit worried about the jungler being in the area, even if it seems like the bot lane is caught unawares. Unless you could burst them quickly, sometimes you're just going to be put in a situation where the tables turn and now you're the ones behind.
You're behind a full static shift now too, because Baz, with that kill gold, was able to buy his own, and Sajid is still picking up the pieces there, so that's going to feel really, really solid. Maybe Sajid just wants to recall right now so we can have that item and match the wave clear. It really is just that impactful. Yeah, there it is. You really need that one against a static shiv of their own, so Lit Esports just sacrificing a bit of time on the map so he can have that available. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, doesn't look like Messages has his quite yet either, teleporting back into the lane, try to keep that push going. You said before how the turret damage matters a lot wherever Messages is. Actually hasn't even taken a single plate yet. I don't think they're really trying to use the Rift Herald in that lane either, considering where Kisno is on the map.
Yeah, good job by Ariandel, you know, absorbing some amount of pressure from Kisno and just in general, prolonging that laning phase in a way that I don't think the Tristana is super happy with. Now, one thing to note is that even though Sajid did pick up the static shiv, Baz has just cashed out Cole and therefore is going to be continually buoyed in terms of their gold income versus the Kaisa. I think Sajid will need to have a successful team fight, or at the very least, a bit of assistance from Kisno to really become more relevant in this mid game. Right now, Baz is flying high.
That he is. Feeling very, very strong on this Varus, which is very likely to go for the AP build later on. As you said, they do need the magic damage, so I would not be too surprised to see that one come through already. Static Shiv, that's a good indicator of it. I was talking about how Kisno might want to use the Rift Herald in the bottom lane. He's still clearing his camps right now, and it's a bit effective. You know, he does already have his Demonic Embrace available. This is going to be a Maokai that does quite a lot of damage, especially compared to Hype, who is going for what seems to be the Evan Shroud, if I were to guess. This is going to be a bit of magic damage burn into a lot of frontliners on Apex Mission Impossible. It's very valuable to get the % health damage.
So you're someone who says Evan Shroud. It's kind of like the Shaco-Shaco merger, in my opinion. I'm much more of an Even Shroud fan, personally.
Oh, well...
I think my philosophy is like, it's evening, not evening. So for me, it's like, it's a night-oriented item. I think it's Lunari based, so I think of like Even Shroud. Here is, in fact, going to be the eye drop into the mid lane, though, and I think they will finally start cashing out a little bit. Messages is getting de-pushed, though, as there's just not a lot in the way of a wave to play with it. Oh my! That is a charge denied by a 3-man from AMI. Good rotations once again from Red Squad. Tragedy.
You miss out on 2 plates with that one, and you're probably not going to get them anyway, unless you take a fight here for Lit Esports. And there's not much to fight over. Like, both these teams have been very passive so far in this game. We said before how Lit Esports did win a lot of games in the Qualifier 1, just playing passive and waiting for their structures to fall later on. So I feel like this is a pretty big missed opportunity. You really do want that charge to come through, and the drop underneath the turret immediately not provide that with a lot of protection.
I feels like a lot of Lit's plans are just kind of dissolving here in this early game. Not only did we see that denial of the Rift Herald charge, but also the 2 kills on the board were from a play that Lit initiated. Overall, it just seems like things are not working out for the team that we really expected to take this game number 1.
Yeah, it is still in the air that Lit has not won a game in group stage quite yet, so maybe we need to take that into consideration. I still think it's very true that with an additional week playing with Flux, it should be much better for Lit Esports, a team that already made top 4 before. Spotted.
Yep, Magnustorm just solo use, and that will be enough. Sajid and Plux couldn't rotate fast enough, and unfortunately, Kizno is just not tanky off of that demonic embrace rush, so they will fall, and that's another kill.
He's dead.
Okay, well, that's something right back for Lit. Definitely got to look at that.
Dragoon still got it.
Yeah, Dragoon kind of saving Lit on the cross map overall, just getting a little bit more gold back into the coffers of Lit collectively. Now they're going to be able to hammer away at this tower. Plates have just fallen, but fact of the matter is you need a few kills here on Lit's side, I think, for them to have momentum going into mid-game. Now, we do see Sajid and Plux trying to hover the dragon just a little bit. Void Missile will go wide, though, and that is going to be a second one claimed by Apex. Mission Impossible. Glacial Fissure used. Plux wants to buy space for messages to get in here. They're absorbing a lot of damage. Will be able to W out of the way of the Blighted Quiver. Baz moving to safety focus as well. Not a whole lot to come from that. Good try by Lit.
Okay, I mean, that was a heavily outnumbered fight that they just attempted to take, but it seems like Apex Mission Impossible did not want to attempt to turn it around. They might get punished for this.
They're going even deeper. Good Nature grabs the follow up. That could be a cleanse burned by Baz, but they still cannot get to safety. And Sajid is going to kill Akas, and I think we may be seeing the turn that Lit needed. Ariandel now cowering under the tier 1 tower as we see 3 members of Red Squad fall.
Okay, Lit Esports have finally woken up in this game, or woken up, excuse me. 3 kills for themselves, and a lot of those onto the big carry members too. One of them on Sajid, one of them on Messages. These are the marksmen that you need to get ahead in this game, and now they are. With all the gold lead that was picked up in the top lane now, that's being spread to everybody on Lit Esports.
And we're now at a point where the win conditions for AMI have narrowed immensely, Summer. At first, I was going to say, you have pretty fed members. You could just kind of rely upon Baz and company to soften up the enemy team and make fights difficult. But the gold lead is going to help cut against that. And now, really, we're only looking at Soul as a win condition. That Infernal is going to be so powerful on the likes of the Jace. But we now have to work through a team that suddenly got tons of momentum off of a few scrappy plays there.
Herald is up, and I think we might get another one of those scrappy plays because everyone is here for the fight. It literally is an ARAM right now, 5 versus 5 in that topside river. I think they're realizing just how silly that actually is and are leaving now. But for the moment, that Rift Herald was potentially ground zero for World War III.
Well, given how successful that first Rift Herald was, I don't think either team is heavily incentivized to go for it. That being said, there still is some amount of hovering in the area. Only Tristana is really outside of this central point on the map, and now Red Squad are mobilizing all 5 to move up towards second Shelly. Plux is in trouble, will have to W away. Decoy not quite fast enough just yet with their spin to win. Will be able to just move back towards this neutral objective, though. But while that's happening, Lit's just going to grab themselves a second tower, making the count 2-0 in their favor, and they're continuing to push forward now onto the tier 2.
Yeah, nobody on Apex Mission Impossible has teleports, so I think that genuinely is going to be a second turret if Messages commits everything to take that objective. Nobody on AMI is in the area. Yeah, there it is. That was literally 2 turrets in 1 push. This is why you don't leave Tristana by her lonesome. Very nicely assessed by Lit Esports to actually pick that up, go for the play, and ignore a fight which could have been disastrous. Again, everyone on AMI was stacked up and ready to go for that, so just very, very level-headed from Lit Esports there.
That's that experience. That's the kind of macro I want to see out of Lit, and I think that they have just opened this game massively in their favor. They're going to crest a 4,000 gold lead here versus AMI soon. And frankly, Tristana has just all of a sudden become the main carry of the game. I thought that we're going to be seeing a little bit more from Dragoon, but honestly, at this point, I think the Cassante is happy to just reside in the role as a facilitator, as King alongside Kizno. And now, I don't really think there's a fight that AMI can take that will actually lead to a favorable outcome unless they're picking someone off.
Oh no, this is interesting. Kisno is going for a full AP build this game. No tank at all. It's, I guess makes a little bit of sense. You do already have 2 tanks on your team. This is still one of those games where your Braum and your Cassante aren't building Evan Shroud, and you can just easily go for that item instead of the Leandries, which I don't really think gets much value, but we're going to see just how impactful that actually is. We already saw one moment where Kisno, because he doesn't have any tank stats, was completely blown up that one time. I think at the very least, you will need to play safer than that.
I mean, in the mid to late game, I do think that Maokai has the potential to play very safe. You want to sit pretty far back anyway because of Nature's Grasp to start off, and you just don't run quite as far forward as you typically would if you're going for a tank build, but that does cut against the value of your match. We'll just have to wait and see, I think. Good usage of Shelly here to finally pick up a turret into mid lane turret, especially for AMI. Hopefully balancing the map out just a little bit more so they can continue to try to forge ahead on the dragon counts. Right now, though, Lit Esports looks ready to duel around this neutral objective. Few sniper shots over the wall there by Flux and company, just to slow down enemy members. That being said, look at the health bars. Blue Squad doesn't have everything about them. Here comes the Nature's Grasp, though. They really want to go for this double, triple root back, but Pokus has a good flank. Let's see if they can follow up. Ariandel's going to go into Hammer Stand, slam down on top of multiple people. Flux is able to kite this out. Sajid tears through the enemy team. Ariandel falls. It's going to be a 2-0 and a heartbreak for Apex.
Oh, the surprise factor of Pokus's engage ended up being the surprise of both teams, it seems like, as Apex Mission Impossible really was not ready to collapse on that one as fast as they needed to take the advantage. You saw Ariandel also flashed in with hammer stance to attempt to follow up there, but it was a little too late. Everyone on Lit was able to regroup and prepare for the oncoming fight after the Rel crashed down. Apex Mission Impossible really didn't commit anything else. I mean, they didn't really have much else to commit. They did not have the Varus ultimate for anything there. They didn't have really a high impact from the depth charge either. And Apex Mission Impossible, they lose all footing on the Drake. They give up the first one of the game, put a stall to their soul, and probably not winning this game anymore. Like, that was their big opportunity to make a statement with these engages. It's going to be much, much harder to find those ones now that you're playing into all these members with 2 items on them.
Ariandel sandwich between Dragoon and Message's decoys here, but at low health, there's not a whole lot they can do to defend the Jace. In fact, the Garen just has to flash to safety. This is yet again very awkward plays across the map. AMI kind of falling apart here.
Yeah, this is a map getting torn apart as Lit Esports are the ones that are doing the tearing. We're getting some pressure here in the mid lane, and we're starting to see the effects of these poke champions and which one of them will actually land all of the skill shots. This is the classic Varus versus AP Kaisa duel. So if you land your spells, then you're very happy, and if you dodge the enemy spells, you're even happier.
And I thought that the poke war would be very much in favor of AMI, and that would kind of be the way that they initiate fights on their own terms, right? They just continually pepper you with shots from Baz and Ariandel, but the Jace has to be alive and also unified with the rest of the team in order for that kind of plan to work out, and unfortunately, we're just not seeing that. We have a Hex Flash over the wall. Heist will not be able to land the Dredge line, though.
Has not been able to find his mark on any of these flash hooks, Hex or not, as Messages is actually dead up top lane. Avenged by Braum.
Impressive, yeah. Flux, tenacious, knowing that at the very least they're going to get the kill, if not Syed or Gizno coming up there. But it does mean that Messages has fallen on one of the split pushes, which is kind of awkward. There's no immediate attempt to go for Baron because of that.
Or is there? Is Apex Mission Impossible? They have a pretty good vision pocket here. Now they're using it to try to get pressure in mid lane. Can't blame them. This very well could be a mid lane turret and an engage. Gotta watch out for Mount Gael.
Yeah, Dragoon just has to walk over here, and while that's happening, Plux dies even with the Maokai ult, trying to cover Blue Squad. Unfortunately, Lit Esports are going to lose their support. The question is, now, is Sajid going to jump in? Here comes the initial engage from Kizzo, popping on top of the Hyphy. There's nowhere for the Nautilus to go anymore. Messages teleported into the play, and that pickoff with 2 dead means that Lit could actually try to move over and beat AMI to the punch regarding the big purple worm.
4v3 on the map right now. Lit Esports have the advantage. They even still have K'Sante ultimate, so Dragoon can cause a ruckus on the outside of the pit. Looks like he's attempting to do that right now as the Baron is under 4k HP. My god, Messages that damage.
Yeah, and they got to be happy that Sajid did not hit that Void Missile. The poke is immense. I actually think I could have seen Dragoon pulling the trigger, trying to fight them, just because at this point, Lit are super far ahead, and now they have the Turo Baron buff.
Pushing in the mid lane as well. With the extra pressure that they were able to exert through Dragoon's presence, they're able to take another objective off of this map. This gold lead is gigantic now. Lit Esports have used their team fighting very, very well, and I'm very proud of the way that they've bounced back in this game. They gave up some advantages in that bottom lane. They gave up some in mid as well, but Dragoon leading this team to a victory with the solo kill up top, with the solo turret up top, and just pressuring everyone out of that pit. Got to give him a lot of credit for this game, and Kisno as well for the zone build of this Maokai and actually securing this objective for him. Lit Esports looking really good in game 1.
And Apex now are going to be hard-pressed to get another Dragon. I think we're about to see the count tied up as we're 35 seconds away from the next Infernal break. And while this is all happening, the Tier 2 mid is getting hammered, and there's nobody there to defend it on Apex's side. They're going to have to just sit around their inhibitor, knowing that if the base is cracked open because of the pushing power of the Tristana, the game will be decided here.
Giving up all pressure up top lane to just push out 2 of the other ones. Seems like it's just a classic 4-1 right now for Lit Esports. Bring up this wave. There's no cannon minion in this one, so I can't imagine this is going to be the wave that completely booms the mid lane inhibitor, as it seems like Lit Esports are just trying to garner position for this trait, which they're much more interested in getting more damage on these carries and pushing Apex Mission Impossible out of this game even further. Only 25 minutes into this game, but it does definitely still feel a bit over right now.
A very patient angle, though, from Lit Esports. Instead of just trying to besiege that Tier 3 tower in the mid lane off the Turo Baron power play, they will back off, even up the score on that front, and maybe with the dregs of the purple suits, they will be able to get one more shove out onto the map.
Suits, that's Kaisa. She's got 2 of them now, yeah? the Baron and the second skin.
That is 100% true, yeah. I don't know. I feel that she sometimes needs a second suit. It must be cold wearing that outfit.
Cold? What do you mean?
It's like a plunge top and also skin tight. I imagine it also has to be breathable given the fact that she's wearing it 24/7. So I imagine, yeah, given the fact she lives in Shurima, it'd be pretty cold at night, or it'd be pretty cold if you were outside of Shurima, i.e. on Summoner's Rift.
I don't know. She's wearing 2 suits, and it's summer right now. It's like 85 degrees where I am right now in Yurko. It is very warm. I'm very warm right now, and I'm not wearing 2 suits. I'm wearing 0 suits. Just a t-shirt.
That's fair. Yeah, it's pretty hot down here as well. It's in Williamsburg, Virginia. So hopefully I will be able to recover as a Philadelphia resident. You know, it gets somewhat hot, but not this hot. I'm struggling now that I'm back in Virginia.
Well, with Lit Esports committing to only pushing 2 lanes at a time, it actually does give Ariandel some time to push out the bot lane. He's actually still committing to this. You actually lose more in your base here.
Yeah, Nature's Grasp jets the zone away red squad, so this is going to be a chance for the inhibitor. Plux and Kizno are very low, though, and I think because of that, they will have to beat a hasty retreat. Meanwhile, Ariandel, kind of on a smart split push on the bot side, gets the Tier 2 tower. He can continue to walk this in, especially if Focus and company want to distract the remaining members of Lit Esports running through the top lane.
Actually, a pretty favorable trade there from Apex Mission Impossible. A couple of objective bounties. You get the additional huge chunk of gold from the inner turret there in the side lane. Those give you just a crazy stack. So the poke is going to get a little harder to deal with all of a sudden for Lit Esports. Ariandel will have a nice extra chunk. Yeah, look at that. He finished up his grudge and bought an entire BF sword. So the extra shock blast, you're going to have to be pretty wary of those moving forward. Lit Esports, they may have gotten that inhibitor turret, but they didn't actually get any super minions for their trouble. So hopefully for Lit Esports, they can have a higher impact on the next siege once the Baron comes around.
I do want to see Ariandel be one of the players that groups with the rest of the team a little bit more now that they have such great artillery fire. It should be up to Decoy to do exactly what they're doing right now, which is bait Lit into chasing them while running away back to safety through the bot lane.
This pushed out here, as you said. The bottom lane, I mean, there's not really anywhere that's safe, though. It's the problem for Apex Mission Impossible. Like, yes, they're not actually, like, getting picked off, but they are losing everything off of the map, and their zone that is safe to them, where they can hide underneath this turret, is completely just in their one little turtle shell of their base. All of a sudden, they are just bleeding gold everywhere. You can't get to any of these camps, at least not safely. You might be able to get this Raptor camp, Apex Mission Impossible, if you're lucky. All right. Luckily, Kisno is actually letting them do that. What a nice guy.
Now, that is nice. However, there is 30 seconds before Lit could just try to grab another Baron. I think that definitely dwarfs the Raptor camp in terms of impact. So therefore, we have AMI sending a 4-man expeditionary force into this topside river, trying to find something, but only really getting saplings in the face.
Well, and Kaisa W's. AP Kaisa is bringing down the pain, looks like, as Dragoon and Decoy are in bot lane. Dragoon, of course, is the one that has TP.
And there's the start of the fight. Hype has to go golden deep in enemy territory, will die for doing so. Now it's a question of how deep can Lit chase. Ariandel and company are both pretty low, and that poke damage from the Void Missiles cannot be understated. Yeah, this is a terrifying team, and they are looking so good right now, rallying, trying to at least get an inhibitor, if not just end the game outright.
Yeah, who needs Baron? Just take that mid lane inhibitor, take the top lane inhibitor. You got actually a pretty big wave stacked up. You need to make sure that Baz doesn't just shiv auto it down. It's like they won't actually commit to taking the rest of the base. And looking for a fight.
Decoy looking for the second blast plant just to get the safety focus as well. Going to hand off a little bit of aggro, zoning away the rest of the team. Dragoon kind of split from everybody, but I think they're perfectly fine with that. They force the crackdown out of Rel, who immediately just Magnet Storms to try to provide a stopgap for the rest of their team. They will die for doing so, and once again, it's just a 5-man march for Lit to wherever they want to go. This time, it will be towards the Baron.
Going to be a clean Baron take, looks like, for Lit Esports. And there's literally nothing that Apex Mission Impossible can do other than maybe clamber over to that Infernal Drake and take this before Lit comes and eats all of their souls. There's some teleports that are going to be flanked upon them as well. And it looks like they get the Drake, but can they live?
That's a really good question. There's a teleport there from Tristan. I thought they were just going to jam into the base, but instead they will, in fact, go on the flank. Garen is just going to back in the middle of everybody. Messages flash plants over the wall. Will they be able to flash to safety is the question. Sajid is just going to use their ultimate to follow up. Decoy buys some space with the blast plant. Is going to have to take the long way home, as it were, as the rest of AMI is jammed back inside of their base, having to defend against 2 waves of super minions.
All right, well, it seems like Apex Mission Impossible got away with robbery there. Well, nobody is even going to die on the back end of that. So 3 Drakes to their name. I spoke too soon on saying that they can't do anything about that Baron. It is at least an objective trade. Now they just have to withstand all the siege, and super minions are already coming in. Bot lane is being pushed out right now, and Lit Esports, they're seemingly still taking their time. They're not actually trying to go for the finishing blow quite yet.
They have good scaling on their side. They know if they play the long game that there's a good chance they will just be able to overpower Red Squad. That being said, Apex Mission Impossible are now just 1 dragon off of Soul, and I think Lit now has to focus on that bot side just a little bit more if they do want to play very, very patient, because you cannot afford to give that sudden damage boost over to a team that's actually doing a surprisingly good job of stabilizing their gold deficit. They still are down, but they have not been knocked out in the past 10 minutes.
Where Big Engage is probably going to be attempted here. That is a Varus ultimate.
Yeah, immediately answered back by Zhonya's messages. Will be able to get the safety. That's a lot of offensive power taken away from Lit. Plus and company trying to frontline for the time being. Braum trying to run away from this fight. Dragoon is not so lucky. So it will be a 1-for-0. Maybe a little bit of an overextension for Lit off this Turo Baron power play. And now Pockets is able to follow with a crash down into Magnet Storm. That does mean the support will eventually fall. Sajid with an incredible flash gets out from under the dredge line. That's just consolation for the fact that activated with staff.
Yeah, that was really bad for Lit Esports. They didn't even get any structures with that Baron. Only 40 seconds left on it. It doesn't look like they're going to get any at the end of it either. Wow. Lit Esports, they dropped 2 kills there. I mean, we talked earlier about how Garen is just Udyr with champion true damage smite, and he used that very well onto Dragoon, who did not even get to use his ultimate at the end. This is looking maybe a bit shakier than we expected out of Lit Esports here in Yarko. I don't know how to feel about this.
I mean, the relative gold lead between the two teams is starting to shrink more and more as these teams get richer and richer. If you only stay at about a 5,000 gold deficit, after a certain point, that really doesn't matter all that much. And we're really starting to see the strengths of AMI's mid to late game come alive. Decoy got that double zeal build right now with the Hull Breaker. Once again, acting as a pest, just pushing out these lanes, while the remaining members of AMI can form this kind of hunting party with the double artillery off the backs of the Jace and the Varus. This is actually pretty scary to deal with, especially because the only real goals right now for Lit are to push down these remaining towers. Sieges, though, are so difficult, especially now that the Baron is gone.
We'll see if this 5 stack is going to work this time around. And like you said, no Baron, so the minions are less powerful, so they already did chunk that turret.
Yeah, and it's a very aggressive bend from Dragoon and company. Blast planning over the wall. Nature's Grab's going to hit 3 members, and I spoke too soon. Lit Esports have the confidence to just walk forward, pick up a double kill for Sajid, and now it is only the 2 Nexus hurts between them in game number 1 of this series.
All right, 2 dead. Can it be possible? Bring on the base defense. Only 1 minion wave here. Oh, Dragoon!
Oh, that double knockback off the Intopo strike stack. That means that Rel can't do anything. Caucus, the last one left, cowering under that last tower. That will be the Nexus cracked open and Lit will take game number 1.
All right, a bit of a shaky win there from Lit Esports, 35 minutes long, but they got it done in the end, finding their first Nexus of the group stage in the upper bracket as well. Lit Esports only 1 win away from returning to that playoff stage and trying to right the wrongs of the top 4 finish just last qualifier. And Lit Esports, I mean, they don't bend under the pressure of losing that first round either and getting in on technicality.
I will say, though, Summer, at the end of that game, while Lit Esports may have a god as their icon, they looked very mortal. I think that Apex Mission Impossible can bring this back. They just need to adjust a little bit there, get a few more successful plays early, and actually put Lit into such a position where maybe they feel the pressure, they are getting desperate, they go for some of these plays where they aren't able to afford to be patient, and from there, we could have seen a very different topography of that game number 1. However, a dub is a dub is a dub, and Lit Esports, I think, did deservedly out-macro the enemy at several points during that game, and Apex Mission Impossible will have to clean up if they hope to take a single round here in this best of 3.
We'll see if they can do that. I mean, one thing's for certain. That Garen, that was not Sunlight. Sunlight would not have gotten solo killed up top like that. Well, actually, maybe he would, but he would have been able to bring it back later on. And
we saw Sunlight yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. He did get solo killed yesterday on this Garen, so I spoke too soon. But you know what? Yeah, it was not quite as effective as we're expecting. And yeah, Apex Mission Impossible didn't really recover super well off of those mid-game fights.
Yeah, I'm really interested in seeing what Apex Mission Impossible are going to figure out in this next draft phase. What do they think their strengths were? What do they think they needed to adjust? And how are they actually going to translate that into gameplay as well? A lot on the table, a lot riding on the series as well, as nobody wants to be sent down that loser's bracket. It's so stressful. You're 1 loss away from elimination. And so therefore, you want to lock in here and now. Let's see who's going to be able to do it deeper in this series.
The LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car-sharing marketplace. Find your drive.
It's time to get recharged with Alk Battery, a recap of the LCS Challengers League qualifiers. 8 best of 3s, and 18 games later, we've had an incredible round 1 of the group stage. 3 of our top 4 from the last qualifier all immediately fell to the lower bracket, and let's just get into it. Group A was our one bastion of safe predictions. Mirage Alliance convincingly took a strong 2-0 over the return of the Middle Six, with Game 2 being the closest and maybe the spiciest thanks to a nice Trundle counterpick coming out from Alorum. Gentle Hearts Gaming made quick work of Komodo. Combining strong lanes with competent team fights, this team is surely going to be in that top 8 form that we saw back in Qualifier 1. Special shout out to Bear, whose incredible Renekton performance in Game 2 deserves a highlight.
What is this champion? Wins the 1v2.
Team Ambition faltered against Teamless Revenge. The TA Mirage Alliance Grand Finals dream is dead as Krakodon's Kindred went 21-20 between 2 separate games. One of the 2 series to go to 3, Team Poachify needed the wake-up call from the Grandpa Gamers as they cannot slack going forward. They want to try and make that promotion tournament. In Group C, CB Gaming had Coach Colthrow stepping in, and the team felt more cohesive than ever. Cycle was just as reliable, and the team was really able to rally behind Flexo, who had stumbled just a bit and still found great spots for the team. K2 is set to step back this week, so we'll see if the performance can be replicated. Team E Turner proved their seeding against the new roster of Aporia. Game 1 had some back and forth, but an excellently played Jason Ziggs stopped any chances of a loss. Cold-Hearted were found in an investigation to be using an illegal player, which means that Lit Esports will be moving on to the upper bracket. CCG will receive a bye in the first round, and Cold-Hearted will lose all of their points and currently be disqualified from the tournament. Apex Mission Impossible stepped out of the expectations of the broadcast again, and with hype, they look ready to make another run to top 8. CCG still seemed lost at the mid-game, with Hyper not fixing this team as we expected. We'll see what game plan CCG comes with, and that's it. Now the speed run's over. We'll see you over on July 29th and 30th over at twitch.tv/RallyCryOfficial and RallyCry2 to see who comes out first in the groups.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the NACL qualifiers for one of our wonderful days here in the group stage. I'm so happy to be here alongside Summer on Color. My name is Nyarko. For those of you just tuning in, and shout outs to Alki, another fantastic color caster here in the NACL family, as they present to you just a little bit of a rundown as to what we should be expecting going into these different groups. Here and now, though, we've got Lit Esports versus Apex Mission Impossible, and I gotta say, the Mission Impossible part of Apex's name is starting to become more and more relevant, as now they have to go runner to confirm an easy berth into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I mean, easy is a strong word. It's going to be pretty tough. You gotta admit, this is going to be 2 wins in a row if Apex Mission Impossible are going to be first seed out of this group. And Lit Esports, they're sitting a little bit more comfortable up at that 1-0 game record. Still, though, this group has been anything but easy for Lit Esports, and I think that could still continue moving forward. We still at least have one more game here, and if it is just one more game, then this is going to be just the shortest day of all time over here on the qualifiers. So that'll be a bit sad. I'm hoping for at least a game 3.
Yeah, Skills a good chunk of time here to cast, and I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my day, because I really am just putting off unpacking all my stuff for as long as humanly possible. And now I have no excuse, right? I'm just going to have to go grab everything, start actually assembling my room, and live like a normal person.
Real. I mean, yeah, my chair is in the way, but I'm sure you can still see I've got some stuff I need to unpack.
Oh, for sure.
Over there. Or not unpack, but pack up, because I'm moving to school pretty soon.
Oh.
But yeah. That'll be in a few weekends from now, so I've still got some time. I'll still be here for the rest of the qualifiers, so that's nice. And yeah. But anyway, Lit Esports, they've finally got a win here in this group stage. They did not just lose again to Apex Mission Impossible like they did to Cold Hearted, and I think a lot of that is coming down to the Supernova alumni. Dragoon and Kistno actually pulled a lot of weight in that last one. Dragoon on that Cassante, finding a solo kill up top and just playing that tank frontline very well.
And while other solo kills did happen throughout the course of that game, it really did feel like after Cassante was able to kill that Garen once, it was actually this game in which the Garen became irrelevant. I was calling that for the Team Ambition series, actually, that once the Garen died once, it was going to be all over. But that wasn't the case here, though. It just felt like there was really nothing that Apex Mission Impossible could do with their dedicated side laner, and therefore they had to go for some pretty novel approaches to the late game to even stay relevant, which they did for a surprisingly long time, Summer. That could be one of the things that brings them closer to a chance at least contesting Lit for this first quarterfinal spot from the D group.
If you had a godly parent like in Percy Jackson, who would yours be?
Ooh. Do I get to choose any pantheon of gods?
I guess, yeah.
That doesn't actually help me. It just kind of makes me more spoiled for a choice. I don't know. Go first. I have no clue who I'd choose.
I asked you. I'm not answering this question. This is your question.
Oh, gosh. I don't even know that much about Greek mythology. I spent my entire time in grad school doing Islamic studies, so I'm very off base. I don't know. Aphrodite, who's to say? I feel like I'm very pretty.
Nice. That's
that I have
yeah.
a camera.
Great. All right. That's a good answer. I like that one. Looking at Apex Mission Impossible's roster, as we take that bit of a detour to talk a bit about the Greek gods and goddesses, Apex Mission Impossible, they are still looking for that first playoff attendance with a lot of these players, and we saw some struggles in that game, to say the least. I think Hyphe's Nautilus landed some more hooks, perhaps, especially that first one.
Yep.
If they can look back at that and be like, maybe need some more reps in the practice tool on the anchor man.
I think it's just also a matter of damage because you have to constantly put decoy into a side lane because the Garen basically had no team fighting ability after they were kind of zoned out of the lane. It felt like what we kind of came to was the situation where you're relying on a team with a Rel and a Nautilus to try to engage, but beyond that, burst down the members of Lit Esports before they could just fire right back with the Nature's Grasp of their own. And while, yes, you do have a Varus who got pretty ahead during the early game, and Ariandel was holding their own at the very least on this Jace, actually preventing the takedown of their turret pretty quickly in that game number one. It just didn't turn into enough, unfortunately. That being said, like I said before, it does look like Lit Esports are in fact immortal. There are ways that Apex Mission Impossible could take this and bring us to a decisive game number 3, but they have to shape up here now.
Yeah, I think for AMI, their wins that they picked up last weekend were very built around having tanks in the front line. Like they pulled out comps with had like Ornn Sejuani in them, but I think like those kind of tanks are ones that deal more damage than the Nautilus Rel that we saw. Now Rel is a support champion, of course, but with the Nautilus in the jungle, you're not really expecting to have as high an impact as something like a Sejuani. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe that's a contributor to consider. They also did have Tristana in some of those games too, and I don't think they're going to get their hands on that if they're going to be playing red side again for AMI, because it does seem like Lit Esports is really keen on picking that one first pick. So that's a big contributor there. You do want some more oomph in that mid lane as far as the DPS is concerned, because Jace, like you said, was dealing a lot of damage for Ariandel.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like because there wasn't so much damage coming out of Apex Mission Impossible, Lit Esports could get a little bit greedy in regards to their build paths. We were remarking upon the fact that even though Kisno did die early to quite a bit of burst damage, later on it felt like the Hecarim, the Maokai, wasn't under that much of a threat. Therefore, they decided to just go full AP. They went from the Demonic Embrace into the Leandries, getting that lost chapter and everything. And that just meant that you could win a little bit more confidently on Lit Esports' side.
And speaking of Lit Esports side, they're choosing to side select blue for AMI, as they're going to be over there. Now they don't have to worry about the first pick Tristana away from them. They can just take that themselves, unless Lit Esports wants to ban it, which I would personally recommend, because as I was saying, Ariandel did already pick up a win on this champion, and it is the best mid laner in the entire game. We'll see if they agree with me over there. Coach Fawn, looking at you. Coach Long as well over there, the draft analyst, the Lit Esports draft gap. Maybe we're linked here. Tristana ban, huh?
They certainly are considering for a while, so that's something to keep in mind. Perhaps they're just waiting for the stream delay to come through, and they will in fact follow your leader. But no, unfortunately, that will be a Kaisa first. Just a little bit more time to think about it, though.
yeah, they need to hear my input, right? That's gotta be what. Tristana. Ah, wrong Yordle.
I mean,
Well,
still
you
a
know
Tower
what?
Buster to deny. So, if nobody's going to ban the Ziggs, I think a Ziggs ban needs to come through with this final selection. But because
They're
Apex
the
Mission
geniuses here in
Impossible
Yarko.
are just going to get themselves a Sejuani, they can get a Tristana on red, which is not something I expected at all.
Yep.
Oh, no.
All right. Lit Esports are the geniuses. This is what we've learned
That's
today,
the
and
draft,
I should not give advice at all because now they get Tristana on their side and they deny Ziggs from AMI, who did actually go for the Sejuani that I said before was a very powerful option for Hyph and one that is all in all just better than the Nautilus, I think. It has stronger pick threat, it has stronger early game damage, and just is bulkier throughout the entirety of the game.
The Rel as well being grabbed by Lit Esports. Now Apex Mission Impossible has to consider what they want to do. I would recommend probably a bot lane lock-in here, get something that's super relevant, maybe return to the Varus actually, but there's going to be a Jace coming out first.
All right, still the Jace in the mid lane. They need magic damage in that role here for Ariandel, and when Tristana is off the table, you go towards Jace. So I guess that's not too unexpected here. I think the issue in that draft really was that they did not have that much DPS. The Varus was very burst-oriented, so was Jace, and everyone else was a tank in that game. So I'm still looking for maybe some sort of hyper carry for Baz in this one, as the Rakan does get locked in. Could potentially be a Xayah later on, as unless Lit Esports bans it, I feel like it's a pretty good pair with the rest of this comp.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a gambit for AMI to go for the Rakan first because now Lit Esports can either get themselves the Xayah here on the R3 pick. They could go for, I guess, a jungler. And now it's a matter of just, will they ban the Xayah out away from AMI?
Okay, so Ivern is here in the jungle. Confirms the Rel will go to Plux. And should show us that Lit Esports is also kind of hurting for some damage on their team. They're going to need some more punch later on to go with these double supports that they have on their team. There's that Xayah ban, as you said. Just wanting to get rid of that from Baz. I would probably guess that this is going to be a Varus ban alongside it, because like you said, Baz did play that last game, and they do still need some magic.
Yeah, the Varus was very scary, especially early on in the laning phase. I think that the presence that AMI had gave me hope that they would be able to take that game. Now, when it came to later on, because that Kai'Sa priority meant that Lit Esports was able to fire right back with their own artillery fire, I think that it was reduced in priority. But now that the Kai'Sa was actually banned by Red Squad, this is the time for Apex Mission Impossible to go for that if it is not denied in the second phase, which it is.
That's true. Yeah. It is just going to be banned, but you're onto something there. I agree. I definitely want to see a hyper carry now from Baz at this point. You can't go for any of the static Shiv champions, or at least not the standard ones with Kai'Sa and Varus. You can't go for the Rakan Xayah pair anymore. And your team already has that front line ready to go in Sejuani. Let's get some resets down. Let's get something like a Jinx perhaps as with I'm laughing a little bit because Dragoon's AP Nasus is getting some respect. That's really fun.
Kind of said we actually don't see the Vayne here. It looks like it's going to be a consideration of more sober champions at the end of the day. Few hyper carry considerations in here, but also some very momentum-based picks as well. I would love to see Samira Rel grabbed.
Okay. They're taking another sip of their beverage here. No longer sober at all. It is indeed Vayne. And this is a double marksman again for Lit Esports, this time much shorter range out of Sajed, and something that is maybe preempting a prediction of like an Ezreal pick out of Baz, because you definitely out DPS an Ezreal at this point if you get some time to auto attack. And also expecting Apex Mission Impossible to go for another tank frontline, which they have done in nearly all of their games. So I think this is more of a predictive pick, and now it's on Apex Mission Impossible to try to actually counteract this and show us another element.
There is some cute pivots that Lit Esports can make here with their last selection. If they want to go for the Tristana and Rel bot lane, you can then send Vayne top, depending on what matchup Apex Mission Impossible selects. They are considering a Karthus for quite a while before pivoting over to a Kennen, so I do think that reduces the possibility of Vayne matching up against them, but there's still a shot.
Okay, no more tanks at all. AMI are actually adapting to this tank pick, the tank buster pick rather, and going for cannon up top. It's blind into Dragoon, who now has the opportunity to counterpick this with something. Malphite would give them a lot of engage threats. So is Scion. We'll see which one of those will be the pick. It is Ornn. Same thing. Those all three of those champions are there for the front line, for the tank engage, and just for buying space for champions like Vayne and like Tristana, who are the entirety of the damage for Lit Esports, unless we get some like Night Harvester.
I was gonna say
shenanigans. Yeah.
You do need a little bit of AP for Lit Esports' side here. But overall, I like the component parts of their draft quite a bit. I really like their identity. The double marksman is going to be so much damage. Messages and Sajid can both go deep into enemy territory. They have good initiation off the back of Dragoon and Plux. And then an Ivern to shield them up and make sure that they can get out of sticky situations. It's a dream come true in a way if you're one of these two hyper carries.
I am very excited about this. Sajid has a lot of the power in this draft for Lit Esports, and the last game really was not about him very much. He kind of struggled in that game to stay afloat against Apex Mission Impossible, and especially in the beginning of that game where he and Plex attempted a 2 versus 3 and ended up falling pretty short to that one. So I'm wanting to see some bigger things from Sajid on this vein. Will be pretty tricky because there's not just an easy tank front line to hit with all of your silver bolts. This is still a possibility for us, or maybe we just get some Vayne spotting action.
I feel that Vayne is a coin flip to a degree just because it really feels like a tempo-oriented champion that can't die early on in the game, but is so prone to dying because it's so short range. Perhaps it's just because I'm terrible at playing this champion. I got very frustrated a while back playing against Vaynes, who just ran at me, condemned me into a wall, and then blew me up, especially because this was during my rel phase where I was just getting shredded at trying to play a pseudo tank, you know? And so I locked in Vayne. Immediately, every single game that I played on her died within the first 5 minutes, and then I realized that, oh, actually ADC is a hard roll. So that is why I returned to very bad picks in other lanes. But this is all to say that as long as Sajid can keep their wits about them and have a stable laning phase, even though they are in a range disadvantage versus this Misfortune, come late game, they are going to be a menace. Even though there aren't that many takes to bust, they can still blast through a lot of these health bars.
As we're loading into the Rift, everybody, very excited for Lit Esports versus Apex Mission Impossible. Lit up a game and on the precipice of making it into the playoffs as well. Just as a reminder, there are 2 streams going on at the same time. If you want to check out both of them and you've got 2 screens, 2 monitors, maybe a screen and a phone there for you, a TV perhaps, if you want to put us up on the big screen, a projector, I don't know, whatever you've got going, make sure you've got both of them up, because on LCS Challengers and then also on Rally Cry Official, you can check out it looks like Team Eterna versus CB Gaming is the first series that's going on right now. So take a look at that over there. Alk Battery and Ravishing Ravager casting that. So 2 lovely boys. And yeah, we're getting into our second game of the day as well pretty soon.
Do you have any predictions as to how the series is going to go? When we zoom out and look at the topography of Group D, now that's only 3 teams, do you want this to be a super competitive one, or do you want Lit Esports to lock in, you know, show that they're actually one of the top contenders here in the NACL qualifiers?
I don't have much of a preference. I think Apex Mission Impossible showed me enough where I'm pretty excited if they continue this trend of, you know, taking down the higher seeds. I think that'd be really cool. So I'm not too picky with it. Lit Esports, I think they would agree with this as well. We're probably the weakest of the 4 that made it to the top 4 last qualifier. So I would love for them to, you know, improve and make it to that point where they can get top 4 again. That'd be really cool. Yeah, we'll see how that actually goes. I'm hearing that we actually have a predictions graphic that we can look at for this series, by the way. So that'd be really interesting to take a look at. Did everyone pick Lit? Oh my God, not everyone picked Lit.
Travesty once again going for the value bet just to try to climb up that leaderboard. I swear that's what this is, because I believe he was doing the same yesterday in some of those best of 3s.
I think so too. I'm not sure what his strategy is, but you know, we have had a lot of upsets throughout this qualifier so far, so taking the underdog seems to be a pretty good investment so far, as we are on the Rift. Lit Esports on red side, Apex Mission Impossible on blue, and AMI, they got to win 2 in a row to make it to playoffs today.
They still have a chance after this, but yeah, it would be really nice. When I was saying easy berth into playoffs earlier, I meant that they don't have to play another game. They don't have to go into the nail biter of the losers bracket. Certainly, it's going to be a tough pathway forward, though, versus Lit here in this best of 3.
Oh, the ward? It's dead! Good job, Lit Esports. You have the CS advantage. You have the vision advantage, too. So this does actually help out a lot on where Kisno's actually going to be. They get the ward on the red buff, so there is still some information, but it won't be entirely perfect on spotting the tree. And, well, when the tree is spotted in the forest, taking the camp, then it actually does make a sound. And the sound is, woohoo, I get red buff. Ivern impression.
I do very much enjoy Ivern impressions. I feel like the more that I think in his voice, the happier I get while playing a game of League of Legends, you know? There was this person with a real talent back on... yeah, there was a person on Reddit a while back that was like, ask me anything and I'll reply as Ivern, and they had a real knack for it. It was very impressive over the course of like 100 comments. They could keep the character up as well as they did.
Like a Disney employee, you know, the ones that like are in costume and everything.
Oh yeah.
That'd be good, you know. Maybe one day we get that for League of Legends. You have someone in character as Rakan. That'd be pretty fun. I would love to get a picture with Rakan.
That'd be sick. I just want a one-to-one recreation of the Rift, as now we see Hizzo flashing back over the wall, try to go for something a little bit cheeky. Hype will be able to zone the tree man off of that top side. I don't actually know what the value of this is because Ivern clears are so weird.
Yeah, Hype actually misclicked his E there, was attempting to throw the E at Ivern, but instead it latched onto the blue buff somehow, so I'm not entirely sure how he managed to do that, but that is what ended up happening. Ivern gets away by flashing out, and as you said, it is a blue buff denial, so that's pretty nice, alongside the Gromp actually, but on the flip side, Kisno can now do the same up over on the blue quadrant of Apex Mission Impossible, so you're not denying that much at the end of the day.
Yeah, that was what my question was going to be, because Ivern, I feel like, goes very low on that first clear as they set up their passive. It feels like it might actually be difficult for them to grab the enemy Gromp and Wolves alongside the blue buff. So yeah, they will actually lose a surprising amount of momentum off of that play, but it was a high-risk call that luckily paid off for AMI.
Seems like it, yeah. This is quite a few camps stolen away from Ivern, 3 to be exact. And he can click on that scuttle crab all he wants, but it's like Kisno is going to be sad about all of this, and you don't get that extra time to just go here, nice and dandy, as Ivern would say, I guess. I don't know. I'm not in character.
Not in character. Yeah, I feel that there is always just a little bit of something sinister going on behind Ivern's eyes, too. Because for as much as he seems to be loving the forest and everything, he certainly does murder people, particularly if they go Night Harvester. We'll see whether or not that's actually going to be called this time around. They are rooted in that bush, ready to find someone to strike against, become the Whomping Willow, as it were. But we'll see whether or not they're actually going to be able to encroach upon anything, because Hype is also covering from that Krug pit. Blue Collar goes their way, will not land, and they will just back off.
This is Kisno desperately trying to do something with his time, as he, like you said, did have a lot of these camps stolen away from him. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, it actually seems like Messages is losing out on these trades way more than he did last time. We'll be forced to take this recall. And, hold on 1 second.
Yeah, it looks like Kisno is actually just going to remain in the bot lane. Hype, yet again covering, though, will be able to repel the advance of Plux, Sajid, and the Ivern, and it looks like we're once again back to a pretty stable state bot. A lot of action was teased to us, but unfortunately, we have been denied any kind of exciting kills just yet. But what you were talking about mid, I think, is a really big point. Because Summer, Messages being down 10 in CS already is kind of worrisome on this Tristana. We were talking about how they want to bust open those towers early. This time around, Ariandel looks like they have full wave control.
learning from the last game, it seems, and how this matchup is supposed to go, or at least maybe not supposed to go, and just how to maneuver it better. As Ariandel, like you said, does have the CS advantage. He's been winning out on the poke wars, and as they both have used their teleports now, it is in a pretty dangerous spot for Messages as he's down an entire tier. Extra mana sustain going to be helping out.
Dragoon's in a lot of trouble. Hyphy off the Arctic Assault goes a little bit too far forward, but they have repelled the Ornn into the Alco. Kizdo is here to try to rescue their champion, and somehow that works with the shield. They just get to safety.
I mean, Deco is really low too, so I don't really blame Apex if possible for running away from this one. Although, hey, there was a possibility. He went for something. Doesn't have flash unless there's Sejuani either. As it's going to be a teleport into that lane again for Dragoon. And this does mean that he can get a second summoner spell, or I guess a third one if you're better at counting than I am, and use that Keystone rune that he's got.
I'm loving the mutual walk back to the lane from the two supports, knowing that neither of them have the damage to actually do anything significant to one another, and so they will just continue on their little roam paths, trying to parallel one another. And that leaves an isolated 1v1 between Sajid and Baz in the bot lane.
It's definitely going to favor Baz most of the time because he does have that range advantage, does have the poke advantage, though at least so far, Sajid actually has a pretty solid CS lead. And this is rather unexpected for that vein. As you said, this is a champion that can be very tricky to pull off in the early stages of the game, especially if your name is Nyarko. But Sajid's name is not Nyarko, so he's got some more Vayne skill, perhaps.
Yeah, Plus is in an awkward position. Luckily, they don't get knocked up by the grand entrance, and therefore they will just be able to hop over the wall and take the long way home, as it were. But Hype continuing to hover this bot lane. You know, we saw them pay a few visits across the rest of the map, but this seems to be their home for the time being, not wanting this Vayne to get too far ahead.
It's not working too well so far, as I said.
Nope.
Yes, is pretty big, but that's matched a bit by the solo lanes here for Epic Mission Impossible. The range advantage is being felt, especially up top lane, but also a little bit in mid too. And even though Dragoon has push right now, does have Messages up here as well. This dive is actually pretty hard to come by. You have no minions.
Yeah, the wave pushing back out, Dragoon is actually going to take a pretty rough trade versus Decoy, and that means that Messages will just sit in Tribush, taking the reset. Decoy walking pretty far back, respecting the fact that Red Squad could be rallying to your position. AMI actually pivoting now to maybe go for first Shelly.
Really looks that way. Gonna be starting this buff up, and yeah, no contest whatsoever. It looks like Kisno just took that recall. Even though he does have level 6 on Ivern, you're not really trying to compete against the likes of the Sejuani early game. I already said before how Sejuani's early game damage is just really, really high. Even if you don't have the power of a melee champion alongside you, you can pop that E and deal just a huge chunk with your W too. So you gotta be really careful around that champion.
We saw Call of the Forge God used in the top lane. I wonder how deep that trade is going right now. Decoy is actually exceptionally low, running the opposite direction. Dragoon giving chase. They might actually die to the minion aggro here. It's at least going to be a very, very fraught back for the little lightning rat, particularly with Kizdo flashing the wall, desperate to pick this kill up. It looks like now it's an attempt at an execute for the Kennen, and they will be able to get it. But a lot of time out of the lane, they will manage to at least bait out one more summoner scroll before falling.
So showing top, though, means that this is going to be a super easy Drake for Apex Mission Impossible. Both neutrals taken before 10 minutes is a pretty nice opener to this game. Also, both Ivern flashes used very early on, too, for just about nothing. It is still 0-0. And, yeah, I think both these teams are still trying to leave their mark on this game, though AMI have a strong early lead with both of those objectives.
Yeah, Ivern is in a kind of sad spot right now. They wanted that gold income to further accelerate them towards that first item. It looks like with that Kindle gem, they are probably going to be going full supportive here. No Night Harvester on the table, I would imagine, especially given the fact they're doing without boots.
That's a shame. I love Night Harvester Ivern. It's so funny. Just all the extra damage that your Daisy deals and everything. The I have seen Static Shiv used, although that was mainly when when Zamuda was playing it top lane for his stream. If you're not following Zamuta's stream, by the way, do yourself a favor and follow that channel, because the things he pulls off in top lane solo queue are just very, very funny. I've been watching him nearly every night whenever he streams. I just have that up while I'm doing other work.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll have to check them out. Novel Things top lane, as you can tell, is my bread and butter. Besides Novel Things in the support role and mid and jungle. You know, I just play Novel Things at the end of the day. All right, well, here is a pretty deep jump in from Flux. They at least get down on top of Ice. Hisnote going to follow, and it's a real conga line with Daisy holding up the caboose. Eventually, Hype will get to safety, but it does cost him their flash. Ariandel also down a lot of stuff themselves.
Ariandel got the recall off. They committed to try to kill Hype there instead, and as you said, the engage attempt was a bit misguided there for Apex from the possible. As they've got two more supports trying to take down Hype in his own jungle again.
A lot of harass, but no kills on the table just yet. And actually, AMI have pulled ahead about 1,000 gold off the back of the fact that they're just doing a good job pushing and pulling Lit early across the map once again. This is very reminiscent of what we saw in game number 1. And while that didn't lead to victory, this is at least the first step forward in trying to even up the series.
Seems like it so far. Apex Mission Impossible, they're showing signs of life in this series, which I personally love to see. Wanted this one to be competitive. I wanted this one to, you know, make us work for the day. You know, we only have one series. you gotta keep us here for at least a little bit longer. As you said, we booked the whole day, so hopefully that we get that game 3. But I'm sure that Lit's hopes are a bit different than that as of right now, as they definitely want to make it to playoffs as fast as possible.
Notably, the CS gap in the mid lane has developed even further in favor of Ariandel. They're already at Duskblade, while Messages is still trying to push for that static shift. They are getting it on this reset, and it just kind of feels like right now this is a power fight that AMI can try to exploit. That being said, Decoy has got to get to safety, uses their Hextech Rocket Belt to get out. The first charge of the Call of the Forge guy will not be so lucky with the second one, and even with the Slicing Maelstrom, they are not doing the damage necessary to stop First Blood from finally coming through for the Ivern.
Finally is right. First blood. 12.5 minutes into this one. This game has been very much not about those kills. Very focused on turret plating here, which is where Apex Mission Impossible still find their lead. Another one taken in the bottom lane. 3 so far in mid, and I think AMI is feeling okay about this.
Flux getting a lot of damage onto Pocket. Saja going to use that final hour to try to get in on the rest of the team. They are charmed by the Rakan, who is trying to zoom away with the quickness in Grand Entrance. Oh, good stun onto Message to stop the onslaught from landing upon the support. Still, they will not be able to get back to tower alive. Messages with those artillery shells will be able to blow up an attempted kill from AMI. And I really did not think that engage from Flux was going anywhere, but at the end of it all, it will be a kill picked up.
Fighting for the Krug camp. Yeah, as you said, the kill is there for Lit Esports, though Ariandel did not show up. Instead, he took so much damage out of that mid lane turret, still retaining his lead there. And I think he's going to be pretty fine with that result for now. Lit Esports has not been able to leave a strong enough mark on this game, even though they've been able to kill Focus and Decoy once each. Of course, the tab screens has a different story, but that's just because Decoy executed that one time earlier.
Messages will be able to rocket jump away from the Grand Entrance. That would have been very scary if they got knocked up, because right now, Ariandel is not necessarily up an item, but they are up enough income that they actually had a little bounty there for a second. And that's worrisome for sure, because a Jace Untamed is a Jace that will maim in the late game. I tried.
Got the Drake started up here for Lit Esports. Daisy is the one who's tanking the initial brunt of damage. Look at all these brushes. We're making a whole greenhouse for Ivern.
That being said, it's just going to be stolen. Hype will not be able to get back over the wall, though. Good Daisy knock as we continue to CC Jamie and Sajin will profit from a kill. And now the rest of Apex is getting split apart by Dragoon lancing down this enemy jungle with their Call of the Forge God. Down goes Decoy. Kill goes to Flux, though. Maybe not the best cash out at the end of the day, but finally Lit have gotten themselves a gold.
This is Dragoon underneath this turret trying to make a dive happen.
I don't know if they're going to be able to tank this much in terms of aggro. They're getting hit now by the charged shots from Ariandel. Will use the Flame Breath to get out, though, and eventually it will just end up being another 2-0 in favor of Lit. Kind of delayed on the play right there, and a bit dicey that they were willing to 50-50 that Dragon. It does mean that AMI have stacked up 2, but I honestly think that getting the kill onto Sajid was probably worth it at the end of the day.
Seems like Lit Esports were considering using the extra time that they had to go start up the Rift Herald, but actually will end up in them recalling and giving up some map. So Apex Mission Impossible, after dying, Spawn run directly to the top lane. Seems like they are actually starting this up themselves. Really considering popping this wall. This would be pretty dangerous to do.
They go for it, too late to get a steal or anything like that, but because the cavalry is here, Message is actually able to get the flash out of Ariandel. It isn't like the Ornn is in a whole lot of mortal peril.
Messages already showing just how much damage this Tristana pick deals, and the difference between this and the next best AD-focused mid laner with the Jace. The assassination threat and the turret damage we're about to see are just effective.
Lux has got to be a little bit careful. Here's the engage. Pocus is going to be able to use the quickness to keep them locked up for long enough for Ariandel to land the killing blow. However, I don't think they're getting the full engage that AMI was aiming for in that situation, as the Ivern and the Tristana both get out. And while this is happening, Sajid is just opened up on the bot lane.
Sajid hanging out in the side, going for the first turret of the game. This Vayne is pretty large now in Yariko. It's going to be matched with a turret in mid, though the Vayne is the carry that we wanted to see really take Lit Esports to new heights, really put Sajid on the map in this group stage and earned their victory for the playoffs. Seems like he's keen on doing so as well with this first turret of the game. 101 on the Vayne. Missing a thing or two here.
Manamune is completed by Ariandel, but I really don't think that they're power spiking too hard off of it. We're looking a little bit deeper into the game before the chase really becomes a threat and really forces the hand of Lit Esports during certain engages. Right now, I actually think that Messages is pretty happy with how this pseudo mid game is playing out, given the fact that early on they were struggling with CS. Now the relative gap between the two of them has shrunk considerably, and with those 2 extra assists, they're definitely still pretty happy on the goal front too.
You're also just happy to go to the late game as the Ornn, so this is just a happy fun time. Maybe a little boring compared to what we saw in Cassante. You can't just move around the map with these like that champion with the full copy pasta rant alongside it. And you do get the scaling of the items, like the late game Ornn Horn, or even right now Ornn Horn.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you also can't really solo kill on the Ornn, but I gotta say, Decoy's been struggling in this matchup. They almost got the solo kill earlier. This one was with a little bit of help from Plux, but it was still basically the Ornn just raw dogging on top of the Lightning Rat, and not too good effect for the Kennen at all. They're definitely in an awkward position at 0-4 now.
Right, they try to pick onto Messages there, if possible did. Can't find that there. The crowd control, not enough. Damage, not enough either. And Focus is ultimate for just about nothing. We have the blue buff stolen away by Kisno just to help use that pressure up top that Dragoon got with the solo kill. Alongside it, it will be a top lane turret, so the Esports are really starting to make this map their own.
Gold gap is not actually that considerable given the fact that they're up 4 kills and a tower. The 2 dragons and AMI just doing a good job in that early game, grabbing themselves plates and priority. It means that they're currently hanging with Lit, but one decisive fight in favor of Red Squad in this game can once again be decided early.
Sajid's actually going to be able to take this mid lane turret, as there's no recon ult anymore. And there it goes. Yeah, even more gold into the hands of Lit Esports. Just in time for the Drake too. Some more pressure in that mid lane channel. And with the Rift Herald popped, actually see that there's Apex Impossible trying to commit pressure on the bot lane.
Call the Forge God going to knock up 2. Plus is on the flank. Pockets is trying to do what they can to distract the Rel, but it doesn't matter. Magnetstorm is going to hit multiple members. Here comes a big bullet time, but unfortunately Dragoon is going to absorb the brunt of it. And right now, Slicing Maelstrom just doesn't do enough. Decoy is going to fall again, and one more time, AMI find themselves on the back foot. Very, very rough fight.
I mean, we're seeing Decoy trying to make the engages happen, but it's super desynced with that Misfortune ult that we saw already used by Baz. 0-5-0 is a very unglamorous scoreline now for Decoy in this game. And yes, one of those was an execute turret. 0-4-0 is really not that much better than Yarko. 2 clean kills for Lit again. This will be the denial of the Drake Soul. Very similar to what happened last game, as Lit Esports will secure themselves their first Drake game right now.
And when you're against, oh, hang on, we've got maybe a little bit of a fight. It looks like Pocus is going to believe that discretion is the better part of valor. Pop back over the wall as the safety. But anyway, as I was saying, Decoy is playing a champion that kind of needs gold income so they can crest over the 3 item mark, so they can have Zhonya's as a means of safety when Slicing Maelstrom. Right now, they aren't even at 2 items, and they have to go Shadow Flame first, I believe.
Trying to go for some extra damage. Cannon is really just about that team fight DPS these days. I remember watching Worlds, and I was much the same as you. I was like, oh, man, they really need Sonya's, but nobody buys that anymore. It's really shocking.
Shocking.
No pun intended, I guess. I actually did not mean that. But yeah, you're seeing cannons just go full damage, which even, hurts even more when Decoy is this far behind and cannot keep up with what we usually expect out of Cannon DPS. Yeah, he's struggling for sure, and against a big scaling tank, it's not going to be easy.
I just watched Saja completely one-shot all the caster minions because of Static Shiv. Oh, I forgot about how silly that item still is. Lit Esports, if you guys are listening, got a perfect meme idea for you. Take your icon and just replace the lightning bolt that Zeus is holding with the Static Shiv, because that's basically your team identity in this game right now.
You know, the lightning bolt that Zeus holds actually is already pretty similar to what the Static Shiv's updated icon is, so probably wouldn't even be that hard. You might just have to change a few colors for the day. So yeah, I bet they could do that pretty easily. As Lit Esports, they're still in a very solid lead this game. You can tell that they're thinking about what to do around this Baron objective.
Focusing a lot upon the Thorn. He's got the Force God and Flash available, going to use it to get out of the way of bullet time, and is now in this little alcove where, if we see further aggression from AMI, they can just pull the trigger and headbutt forward. It looks like everybody will take the reset for the time being, and with the Dragons split as they currently are, I really think the only thing people are going to be focusing upon right now is the Baron Nashor that has spawned up.
Seems like it. Flash used out of Orin is much less impactful when you do have Summoner Spellbook, so Dragoon is going to be a-okay with that. He's already started upgrading some items. It is a Yomu's Ghost Blade upgrade for Sajed. I think that's the Yomu's Wraith Blade, right? That's what the upgrade is? I think that's what it is. But yeah, regardless of all of that, creative lethality item for the Vayne, as again, Lit Esports is stacking up, ready to fight for their lives and for the Baron.
Messages is getting chunked pretty hard by Ariandel right now, especially due to the fact that we have the upgraded Muramana, but still, you need to get the 3 items before Ariandel really becomes an immense threat right now, and we just are not seeing that crest because the pathways for income from AMI have just been denied quite nicely by the priority that Lit have gotten across the map, and now they are looking for the big engage. On top of Pipe at first, Focus is going to jump forward to try to shield up the Sejuani, but that does leave Baz completely exposed to Dragoon, who unfortunately doesn't have the burst damage for Lit to immediately land a killing blow. And that does mean that we kind of stalemate in this battle mid.
Okay, we're getting all of these members ready and ready to just use all of these ultimates for the engages. Scythe and Dragoon now don't have those big tools to use, and it is just a lot more on Focus and Decoy for Apex Mission Impossible to make a fight happen for them. Lit Esports actually acknowledging that they don't have any more engage tools. They will actually back away, and Apex Mission Impossible just get to survive on the map for a little while longer. I don't know. This is feeling less and less like an AMI comeback and reverse sweep, though. I'm worried for their chances as the game moves on. Their scaling is not very good.
The one thing that I can give them right now is that they are up on Dragons, and actually the gold gap is not as big as you'd expect given the 1-7 scoreline. But yeah, like you're saying, their timer is ticking, and unfortunately, I would hope that they would be ahead at this point in the game if they have a chance of taking this one home, because we still have not seen the full power of Messages or Sajid unleashed upon the Rift just yet.
True, it's actually really scary for Apex Mission Impossible to deal with, too. Like, you gotta take down both of these marksmen, and to do it, you have to cut through all of the tank front line against Lit, who's already a team very well known for playing the late game, playing the slow, methodical pace to pick up their wins. That's how they made it to top 4 in the last qualifier. And you're against members who've already qualified.
Call the Forge got Chirelia to follow up. Here comes the Magnet Storm. And unfortunately, the jump into the backlight from Decoy will be denied by Saja with a beautiful condemn. Now it's a double kill for the Vayne. They split apart the enemy team. Hype is forced into their own jungle. And now, with 10 kills on the board, Lit have opened up this game.
Oh man, the Engage stuffed again. Apex Mission Impossible cannot find anything that sticks, and Lit, everyone survives on this team. He's looking significantly cleaner than we've seen them in the past, than we saw against Cold Hearted. And Hype is trying his best to stay in the area to make a steal happen. He's making these leapfrog moments occur. I think he's just going to recall, though, if he can.
I mean, I don't think they will be able to recall. That's Messages just rocket jumping over the wall, desperate for some more gold, knowing that the Baron is a foregone conclusion for Lit. They are picking up everything, including that Turo Baron buff.
Well done to Lit Esports. This is the cleanest game that we've seen from them in a very long time. A return to form from Lit Esports, our top 4 finisher in the last qualifier, as they try their best to make their way as first seed into the next stage of the tournament. They want to get all these promotion tournament points. They want to make sure that they're ready and available for that next step. Maybe Kisto and Dragoon qualify for NACL yet again.
And look at that gold lead. This is the pathway to victory. A 2-0 to lock into quarterfinals, Summer. And it's going to be off the back of the terrible twosome of Messages and Sajid getting super fed on their respective marksmen.
All right. Pushing out the mid lane, pushing out the bottom lane as well. Speaking of the marksman, Messages, as that guy, will deal a tremendous amount of damage to that turret. Probably already dead, yeah. It is just immediately dead. Will be traded for the top lane turret as Ariandel picks that one up for himself. But look at this. The Baron minions are still here. Lit is not done with their relentless push. Their approach to the playoffs is upon us.
And you have to be so careful. One misstep, one misplay, Plux will be able to jump on the bulk of your team, and especially if this is happening close to mid lane where you don't have a tower, that could be a wipe. That could be the end of the game off of the singular Turo Baron power play. Now another tower is going down. Dragoon is teleporting in. Plux goes for the engage, goes for the late Magnet Storm, will be able to lock up a few members, eventually sacrificing themselves, so the red tide crashes upon the enemy team. AMI may have just lost the game in 28 minutes as we see the next turret being taken down. Lit Esports 2-0 quarterfinals.
Only one lightning rat left. It's a 7th death to end off this game. Decoy drops again, and Lit Esports claim their 2-0 on the victory lap to the playoffs. Well done, well recovered from their first loss. Lit Esports are still in hot pursuit of that promotion tournament.
Lit Esports, I think, proving the doubters wrong, really bringing back the magic that we know them for, and they show that they are one of these top competitors here in the NACL qualifiers. Unfortunately, as much as Apex Mission Impossible thrashed and struggled against the Chains of Fate, they eventually were dragged down to the losers bracket, where now they're going to have to face off against CCG Esports.
That's going to be a nice rematch for Apex Mission Impossible and CCG to prepare for. Next Saturday will be the conclusion of Group D, and I personally cannot wait to see which one of those teams actually does come out ahead. Hopefully it's more competitive than the last time, but yeah, for now, congratulations to Lit Esports. First place in Group D. Lots of points there. and well-needed ones too. They are still in that contention for top 4.
Yeah, Lit Esports right now, I think, are in a position where while they have a good nest egg of points, they certainly want to push things over the edge. And I also think they want a little bit more experience against the very top of the bracket, the cream of the crop here in the NACL qualifiers. So they're doing a good thing getting into quarterfinals early. Now they're going to be able to relax for this extra week. Look at some of these other teams, watch the footage back, and hopefully start adjusting for these players that we know have put pressure on them in the past. I always talk about Team Ambition, Mirage Alliance as these big sharks in the water, and now it's a matter of leveling up to be able to take them on one more time before we hopefully get our final few to enter on into the qualification tournament for the NACL proper.
Yep. I hope that we get to hear from one of the members of Lit Esports in a bit of an interview. We'll try to set that up for everybody real quick, but in the meantime, we're going to take it to a quick break while we set that up. I hope everyone had a great time watching that playoffs bound win from Lit Esports. And yeah, we'll be right back with an interview.
The LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car sharing marketplace. Find your drive.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the NACL qualifiers as we're on the come down from a 2-0 victory by Lit Esports over Apex. Mission impossible for them to lock in to the quarterfinals here in the second summer qualifier. Very, very happy to be here alongside Summer, and also one of our victors. We got the mid lane player for Lit Esports, the Tristana Terror messages on call.
Hello, hello.
How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good.
We see you on camera. Welcome.
Yes. I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to finally do my interview the first time on Lit, so I'm yeah, happy for that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, really? Well, what does this interview mean to you then? You're finally getting one with Lit.
I kind of wanted to be like one of the last people to be interviewed. That's just
Ah.
like the way I wanted to do it. So that's how it ended up happening. Yeah, I'm happy about that. So
Oh, okay, okay. Wait,
yeah,
how many other interviews did Lit get? Like, are you actually fifth for them, or is
I
it
think I'm
are you
fourth.
like?
I think Kizno is going to be the last. Pretty sure Kizno hasn't done
Oh,
an
okay.
interview. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we have something to look forward to
Yep.
for Sunday. Then you guys gonna win
Yeah.
that series, huh?
Yes, I don't know who we're against, but I'm pretty sure we should win Sunday confidently. So excited to play against whoever, honestly.
Yeah, I love the confidence. I mean, it's a big step for you guys. You know, after the first week, I know you guys have had some
Yep.
roster struggles. Plux stepped in at the last second to help you guys out. You guys have now had a full week playing with Plux, and I think we can pretty easily see the growth in the entire team. What has that been like for you integrating this new player into the roster?
It's been a little tough, just because Plux has like real life things. He has like a schedule kind of issue, like he has a 9 to 5. So it's a little harder to find like decent practice, which has been the only problem that's having integrating Plux into our team. But other than that, I think Plux fills like a pretty good role, and he's like calms a lot, kind of micromanages some of our teammates, like kind of keeps our head on straight, making sure we're focused. So it's been really good having Plux on though. It's been really great.
Nice.
Yeah, it seems like you guys got that communication down pat. A lot of good coordination out of you guys this past game and past series, actually. So congratulations on that front. Delving into this battle that you now had to be confirmed up to quarterfinals, was there any specific thing about Apex Mission Impossible that you wanted to touch base upon and figure out before you went into this best of three?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw Arian Dell as like the biggest threat, I think, on the team. Like his whole prio on 80 mids and then whatever jungle matching has like kind of like their bread and butter. Like that's just what we saw. So we kind of just were okay with handshaking the Tristana and the Jace, or what other AD matchups he was fine with handshaking. Then we were as a team just comfortable with whatever they're going to throw at us. So we kind of expected all their drafts to, and yeah, kind of executed perfectly of what we wanted.
So, as a team, if you're agreeing that the mid laner is the biggest threat, how does that feel for you as the opponent of the biggest threat on the other team, you know, playing against that bit of extra pressure?
Fine. Yeah, I don't really mind. I think regardless of what happened last week, I think I'm still like one of the best mid laners to be in OQs. I think there's contention for me to move up, so I think that there's not a lot of competition when it comes to mid lane. Other than I respect Arian Dell and maybe Kachu. Those are the only two I could think of that I actually, and Sudsy. Those three are actually the only people that I actually like kind of am careful around, and I respect the way they play. So yeah.
I mean, you're a player who's played against a lot of really strong mid laners, especially this year. You know, already making it to the promotion tournament, playing with the Last Dance in the last split. What does it mean for you specifically to make it back to that promotion tournament and sort of you know, rewrite that history for you and maybe do a little bit better this time?
I think it's very important for me. Last time I kind of got snuffed on native. I think everybody knows. So I really wanted to make sure that I can make a run for the promotion tournament with my own team again and not have to be subbed in like what happened last time. And I wanted it to be on like my own accord and kind of something that I worked for and not was given by Last Dance. So I think it means a lot to me to go into promotion relegation tournament. And it's something yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys have proven yourself so far with this qualifier. You know, even bouncing back from that roster adjustment this week, really, I can kind of think bearing your fangs one last time before we move on to the quarterfinal bracket. But looking forward already, with your goal being getting back to that promotion tournament, how much are you thinking about, you know, those games in between you and grand finals, or are you really just thinking, hey, we just got to win one more series, get locked in for the promotion tournament, and then play from there? Is that what you're looking forward to more, or looking at more?
Yeah, I think in past, like I've always been tend to like look past everything, like, oh, this is how our bracket's gonna look if we win said series and if we win the next series. So I've never like, so I've gotten to that habit, but recently because stuff has been kind of all over the place, we've just been taking it a series at a time. So whatever series we have, we focus really hard on that, and then we worry about everything after the fact. So I've been kind of just going. I think the whole team in general is just going series by series. So I don't think, yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have your opponents set for that quarterfinal matchup next Saturday. Looking forward to that one. Yeah, I mean, thanks so much for the interview here, Messages. Do you have any final words for us before we close out the stream?
Yeah, I mean, shout out my teams. I think they've been really supportive. I think it's been a blast to play with Lit. Shout out my girlfriend. I really appreciate her. And yeah, shout out all my friends that are watching, Sam, Koik, all the boys. And yeah, thank you for supporting me as a player. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Easy to support you, Messages. Big fan. Congratulations on the win. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing that quarterfinal matchup on Sunday. Yeah, thanks again so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, a
Sweet,
delight to have
Yarko.
Messages on. Yeah, and congratulations to them and the rest of Lit Esports once again for that lock into quarterfinals. Summer, it's been an honor being on for, unfortunately, such a tragically short stream, but this does mean that we have plenty more League of Legends to watch as observers alongside all of you lovely people who come on and make the NACL Challengers League what it is. So if you want more qualifiers, I believe we're going to be raiding onto the main Rally Cry stream, but also make sure to keep your eyes and ears peeled for some more NACL action down the line as we are deep in the midst of playoffs.
Very, very excited for the rest of this. The rest of this qualifier. If Lit is already making it all the way through, we also had Team Eterner take a pretty fast series. So we have our first 4 teams in the quarterfinals already set and done. A lot of really strong teams already there. So quite a bit to look forward to. Of course, this next Saturday is the day where we get a bunch of eliminated teams and a bunch of qualified teams for the playoffs. So definitely tune back into these streams on Saturday to find out how we're filling out the rest of quarterfinals. And also, we're going to be sending you right on over to that LCS Challengers stream so we can check out what is going on with the with the other stream and how the other group is going to be playing out. So yeah, a lot to look forward to. As you said, NACL playoffs also going on today. So yeah, NA League of Legends, it's so fun. There's so much of it.
So fun, so much of it. So happy to be a small part of this big machine that everybody has contributed to. Shout outs to our sponsor, Turo. Shout outs to production, always working to make sure that things come to you as cleanly and smoothly as possible. We wouldn't be there without them. So with all that in mind, everybody pile on into the next stream. We'll see you guys later and have a good one.